I'll just be posting it to the Facebook event page. So I'm putting a link to a Google Doc, just a little bit about the project. And then you can, if you're interested in joining the team, you can add your name and contact info there. So welcome. This is our project to help organize empathy circles with congressional representatives between the Democrats and Republicans. This time slot that we're using here, usually we use it for our empathy circle facilitators support group. We have we do sort of this practice of empathy circles, and we have people that facilitate, and they can come to this time and space to just get support on how to facilitate circles in their communities or whatever. We're going to use it, this space, to talk about organizing these empathy circles with congressional representatives. And maybe I'll just start off, introduce myself. I'm Edwin Rutch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. So for about maybe the past 13, 14 years, been working quite intensely on how do we build a more empathic world and society. And I've been really wanting to kind of spread the empathic, message and how to create a culture of empathy as widely as possible. And so I thought if we can get the congressional representatives to come together to use the empathy circle practice to talk with each other on the topic of how do we bridge the political or partisan divides, that would just be a contribution. So maybe we'll go around, just everyone introduce yourself, where you're located. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area in El Cerrito, which is just near Berkeley. So if we go around and just introduce yourself and maybe just, 30 seconds of why you're interested in this project of, bringing the politicians together, and we'll just get started with that. And then I'll go through and give sort of an overview of the project, and then just have some time to talk about it and see how people might want to be involved and ideas you have about it. So to begin with, Kat, do you want to do a little intro?
Sure. I'm Kat Gilliam, and I've been working with nonviolent communication, Marshall's work, Restorative Circle with Dominic Barter, and playback theater, which is an embodied form of empathy. That's the longest practice I've had, for 30 years, and the other two are for a couple decades. And it always seemed like it was the way to go, was to get on the inside of the government to make some change. And then I started to discover the work that Jeff is doing, and got pretty jazzed about the fact that there are a lot of initiatives like this that are starting to pop up all over the place, conversation circles and things. So yeah, I just want to put my energy where it's going to make the most difference.
Oh, great. Thanks. Eli?
I'm in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and I'm originally from California, and I'm still a US citizen. So I care deeply about the politics, and I've been doing a lot of empathy work with voters, but stepping it up to the politicians just seems like magic if we could make it happen. So I'm very excited to see if we can do this and to help make it happen.
Okay, thanks. Diane?
Hello, I'm in Houston. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I just find it very interesting that we could possibly pull these people together, and what kind of precedent it could set in healing our country, and maybe trickling down to the rest of us in the world.
Great. Dean?
Well, I seem to be the novice compared to everyone else in this gathering. I've only been doing the empathy practice for 8 months, but I think it's a wonderful process for getting people to listen to each other and to actually delve deeper into a subject matter that originally people think at the start of the conversations they know the answers to, but by the time you've spent 2 hours in the circle process, you actually find that the answers you come up with are totally different to the ones you actually went in with. So we can do this with politicians and get them to see beyond their short-sightedness and their short-termism, then I think it's a wonderful process, and I think we should take it to them. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Jeff?
So I had to unmute myself. So first of all, let me say I may have to jump on and off of this meeting. I'll do my best to stay on. Just try and say in short how I'm involved is really difficult, but I'll try. I'm a longtime public policy mediator. I worked on conflict resolution with federal agencies, state legislatures, and congressional disputes for 25 years. I have had one of my proposals now launched within Congress, bringing Democrats and Republican members of Congress together to tour each other's districts, and have helped launch a bipartisan caucus in the US Senate, and am in the process of developing a number of programs under the umbrella of a Congressional Center for Leadership, or a Congressional Center of Excellence. And am privileged and honored to be, I will say, very well connected with the whole democracy reform and innovation circles in Washington and beyond. And really excited, Edwin, to hear about what you are doing and how we can weave all of this together. And I'm also kind of a, I don't know what to call myself, a wannabe chaplain in training or something like that in another part of my life.
Oh, what an amazing background for this project. Thanks, Jeff. Wow.
Kind
great.
of ties in, doesn't it?
It does. It all fits, the pieces of the puzzle. Yeah. Pat?
Yeah, so I, like some other members of the group, have done NVC work and studied with Dominic Barter, and did some of that work here in the state of Maine. I trained as a chaplain, so that's another piece. So what appealed to me was just this work, because there's just so much division. So the more conversations that we can have beyond labels is just awesome. So that's what I'm here.
Great. And Pat and Jeff, your audio is very low. I don't know if there's anything you could both do to sort of up your audio, but we'll hopefully.
How's that?
I don't know if it's the microphone, if you're just far away from the mic, but anyway, it was just hearable. You could just audible, but it is a little bit of a challenge. Anne?
I missed the question. Apologies.
Oh, we're just checking in your name, where you're located, and maybe interest in this project. We're using this facilitator time to talk about this organizing empathy circles with Congress, or MPs, be it if it's for the UK.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Anne Jordan. I'm in the southwest of England. I've been involved with empathy cafes for a while now, and doing that mainly through Extinction Rebellion, but with people across the globe, not just in the UK. And yeah, I'm interested in this topic very much, of working with politicians and bringing people together.
Okay,
So I'm curious about the evening.
Great, thanks, Anne. And I just put the link in there to the Google Doc, it has some notes in there. And so maybe to begin with, I can give a little bit of an overview of where things stand right now. So let me just do a screen share of this. I don't have a fancy presentation or anything, but this is our Facebook event page for, help organize empathy circles with congressional representatives. And we have a couple meetings set up. We'll have one tomorrow as well. We're going to have something on the weekend too, see if there's people that could come. And we're just getting started with the project. But we have been working on this for some time with our congressman. This is Mark DeSaulnier, who's Democrat here in Contra Costa County, where I'm at, and we've been working on him for like 2 years now to get him to take part in an empathy circle. We went to his office, before COVID, gave him T-shirts. He keeps saying, yes, I'll do it. And he just keeps kind of putting it off. We've been to his office and have done empathy circles with his staff. So we just wanted to introduce it. It was here in Richmond, California. We went to his office. We sat down with 2 of his staff, with myself and Dave and Lou, who are part of our team. So we got them familiar with it. And we have, let me see, some other, this is another point, is that I think there is an opening for this now with Democrats, for doing empathy circle work, because this was from the from the Democratic acceptance speech of Joe Biden. On the screen was these huge, they had 2 big screens at the Chase Center when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden came out. It said, the people have chosen empathy, and Joe Biden, he's talked a lot about empathy. Everybody's saying that, he's very empathic. It's been, Barack Obama, you name it, all the Hillary Clinton, when they were saying, hey, I endorse Joe Biden, they're saying it's because of his empathy. So there's sort of a space, an interest and a support, from the Democrats saying, yeah, empathy is important. This is huge, because when Kamala Harris came out on the screen, behind her were 2 big screens that said, people have chosen empathy. So there's some more. This is, I can put this link in. There's a documentary just came out called Trump Phobia. And this documentary, we can even have a showing of it sometime. It's a 70-minute documentary, and the filmmaker saw our work with the empathy tent, where we came, in Berkeley, when the political right came to Berkeley and the left, Antifa came and had these street fights. We set up this empathy tent, and we offered listening to both sides, and we're trying to do some mediation between the sides. She saw that work, and she invited us down to Los Angeles, and we did some mediation there, kind of on the street with, impeached Trump supporters and, Trump supporters. And so anyway, that documentary just came out. It's called Trump Phobia. And, there it is. Yeah, so that's the Trump Phobia. And these are just some links to, if you go to the page, Daryl Davis, who did listening with the KKK and really transformed people's, people left the KKK because he just offered listening to them and kind of help transform those relationships. So the other thing I wanted to go back to, so I have tried multiple times. I've talked quite a few times with Mark DeSaulnier, trying to get him to take part. He always says, I'm going to take part. And as always, I don't have time. But I did catch him now, because everything's online, I did go to a call where he was in the call online. And I specifically nailed him down. I said, Mark, will you do an empathy circle, with Republicans? And by when will you do it? What is the date? Give me a date and time. So he committed to doing it in January. And then the second question I asked was, will you and your staff actively help? Because it's like, before it was like, oh yeah, we'll do it, but you kind of go set it up. This, I'm like kind of nailed him down and said, will you help set this up with Republicans? And he said he would do it, so we have a commitment. And if he doesn't do it, I'm going to take our empathy tent and set up on his lawn until he kind of keeps his word. And he's actually said it before. There was one town hall I went to with Barbara Lee, who's the Democrat congresswoman from Alameda County, Oakland area. And they both had agreed to take part in an empathy circle with Republicans on the topic of race. but it's like trying to get them, calling their offices, you know, he just kept kind of putting it off. So anyway, got a final confirmation, and I just wanted to share this too. This was 2 years ago. We'd held at the UC Berkeley, we held what we called the Radical Empathy Forum. And this was for our local District 15 Assembly District for California State Assembly. And we had 11 candidates who were running for office. And we brought them into actual empathy circles at UC Berkeley. And we worked with some student group there. And we held these empathy circles with the politicians. So it was just sort of a proof of concept that it worked. And, you know, we got a lot of media, you know, it was picked up by the local PBS station and the Daily Californian and kind of other media outlets. So I'll just, so that's sort of the situation. The idea for this group is just to kind of sort of a meet and greet, you know, to sort of see who is interested in, you know, working on this project. The idea is that we use Zoom. We bring two Democrat representatives and two Republicans together, and we facilitate an empathy circle of 2 hours, and that it's recorded, that we post it, and the topic would be how might we bridge the political divides in the society, and just really get a conversation going. Have this be a sort of a model of the dialogue. You know, we can post this and show sort of proof of concept, and then hopefully, you know, others in the team can sort of reach out to their representatives, and we could sort of scale it up and get more politicians to take part. When I talked to Mark DeSaulnier, he said he has had difficulty with getting Republicans to take part in these conversations, you know, because if they would speak to a Democrat, they could, you know, get into trouble in their districts. And so that was like one issue. But I do think that the topic itself of, you know, how do we bridge the political divides is just a constructive topic, and, you know, can hopefully, you know, kind of get the ball rolling. So let me just see what else I've got here. Okay, yeah. If I had actually been planning to actually take our empathy tents. I don't know if anybody has seen our empathy tent. You know, we take this tent. We've been setting it up ever since Occupy Wall Street. We've been setting it up in public spaces, offering listening to the public and empathy circle practice. And we've been to quite a few, you know, these political you know, fights that have been out here in Berkeley and Sacramento and LA, etc. But, you know, COVID's kind of put a bit of a damper on that. And I had been wanting to take it to DC, you know, you set up in front of the White House or, you know, in front of Congress and say, you know, we would like you to have empathy circles with each other. So that's just a little bit of an overview. So I'd just like to hear, you know, what everyone's thoughts on it, and just maybe raise your hand and I can call on you to just hear any kind of thoughts, ideas about moving this forward. And I don't know, Pat, were you speaking or?
No, but I'm just thinking. So what I just heard you say was something around like the challenge is in approaching people in this political arena is like the time, right? And then there's resistance,
Yeah.
right? So so just, you know, a couple of things, I don't know, rewording, what's in it for them. I love the idea of the tent because it's just there. You can't miss it. Yeah, so those are my immediate thoughts.
Yeah, in terms of the time, that has been a challenge, but now because of COVID, they're more willing. Our representative is willing to do it online. I think people they're getting familiar with the online forum, and that makes it very easy to hold and organize and schedule. you know, if they can take the time. So I think it, and then for the recording. So I think this is sort of an opportunity actually with COVID, with, you know, being willing to do this in
What do you,
this format.
what do you get like with a sense with when they know that it's going to be recorded? Is that like a plus or is that a minus for them? Do you think?
I'm not sure about Congress. It's Congress representatives. I imagine that they would appreciate, our Congress, Mark DeSaulnier has been doing a lot of online town halls. So he kind of wants to get out there. When the candidates, that was one of the things with the candidates running for the assembly district, they all wanted publicity. So they were, when they're running for office, it's like a perfect time to, you know, bring them into a discussion if they think they can get, you know, publicity.
Yep, I hear you on the publicity. That's probably one of the motivators, perhaps.
I would think that it would be difficult for some elected officials to agree to record these because then they have to watch what they're saying so much it almost defeats the purpose of an empathy circle, of really being vulnerable and open and honest. And I think it might be easier to get particularly the Republican Congress people to do this if it's not recorded until they're done it at least once and know what the process is and can feel comfortable that they're not getting trapped into saying something it's going to be broadcast all over. And I mean, there's so much fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just in response, I think what we need a model of it. If we can have them doing it in a constructive way, and we can show some representatives taking part in it, I think it will help address that fear. So we need the first, you know, the first one to sort of model it is kind of what I was kind of hoping for. And the other thing is I did an empathy circle with, this was after Charlottesville, and you know, there's all this anti, you know, fascist or whatever stuff going on, and we had someone from a group, Patriot Prayer from Oregon, Washington D.C. area come to San Francisco, and I invited them. And it was like a huge, I mean, the whole city was just in a total uproar. Nancy Pelosi had, you know, kind of responded to it, said this was terrible, they're coming here. And I reached out to the organizer, Joey Gibson. I said, would you do an empathy, take part in empathy circle with the counter protesters? And he agreed to do it. And I reached out to and got one of the counter protest organizers to take part. And we did an empathy circle online on Zoom. And, you know, because it was like high profile people, it got a lot of views. It got like 5,000 or 6,000 views. And it was a lot of right-wing supporters, you know, who were kind of watching because their leader was, you know, taking part in it. So those are just some of the benefits of getting high profile people, even though I think your concern is that initially they might have concern about being public.
Well, and one way to get around that is to not say the whole thing is going to be recorded, but at some point during it say, hey, this is going really great. Could we record a round? You know, once they've gotten going, and then record just one round around the circle maybe. And so they know that's the part where they're being recorded and they can be careful or whatever. And, you know, just keep their fear in check, but the rest of it, they can be just relaxing into the process. But
Now,
then you
that's
have
something to check with the representatives to see how, it seemed like Mark DeSaulnier seemed to be okay with it being recorded. So I have to kind of check if there's any real concerns, but I'm really pushing for the recording part, at least just to have this to have a full circle. Yeah. But maybe there could be, you know, kind of ways of easing, you know, them into it so that kind of overcomes some of the barriers. Yeah, Anne, do you have? You're muted.
I was interested in what Eli's been saying in order to make it more accessible and build safety in the process and understanding through some experience before being recorded, being filmed, basically. I think it's an interesting thought, worthy thinking on.
Okay. Anyone else? Yep, Kat.
It seems, I mean, what comes to me is it seems like the level of education regarding what you're actually offering has to be pretty high, because it reminds me a lot of restorative circle work that I've done with Dominic Barter. And right out of the gate, people have to know what they're saying yes to if they're being invited to something. And so I don't think it's enough to call it come to an empathy circle, because empathy means a lot of different things to people. And more people than not have, I think, a little bit, they're unclear on what empathy is. It sounds like sympathy to them, or they have some idea of what it is, but they don't really understand that it's just about hearing. It's just about deep listening. It's just about really hearing each other. It's not about agreeing with or blah, blah, blah. So it seems like the focus the educational aspect of it has to really be key here.
Have you seen the how-to empathy circle videos that we have?
I have not seen those.
Okay.
And I just wondered if that was part of what you were sharing with the people that you're wanting to come to these, because I thought the how-to was sort of for people who wanted to do them, like facilitate them.
The how-tos is, I'll put the link in there. There are some videos of how to do empathy circles. So there's a 9-minute how-to. So it's just a quick intro. It mentions some of the benefits. And then there's a more in-depth 25-minute. And then there's a 1-page how-to. So that's sort of the first introduction. When we did it with the 11 candidates, it was surprising. They were quite able, they were fairly comfortable with doing the process. There was a few people who just didn't get it, who just really struggled with what active listening was. So I think it's one is having the how-to, having some like written material about it. And then I'm really wanting to get that one sample. If we can get one sample with the representatives doing it, then we can say, this is how it works. You can see how, that it's safe, and sort of the process. So that's why I'm really, pushing for getting this first one recorded, because it'll be sort of a template that others can see.
So another thought that I'm having is around, like, if there was somebody that maybe isn't quite right in the political arena, but has influence on people that are in the political arena, if maybe, conversation there. I hope this is okay. I'm just brainstorming.
Yeah, this is a sort of a brainstorming. Yeah, really
Okay.
just kind of throwing
Okay.
out ideas. How do we sort of form this team? What ideas do we have? Who wants to be
I have an
involved?
idea. Maybe it's like completely out of there, but you remember Dennis Kucinich? Is he still around?
I don't hear much about him, but yeah.
No, but he would be probably probably a person that would say yes quicker than some other people, and maybe he knows he knows some other people. Just a thought.
Edwin, could you readmit Jeff? He lost his internet connection.
Thanks. I didn't.
Yeah, if we could find people, like I would think, what's his name, Kasich would be willing to do this. Or, Mitt Romney. Some of these, they're known, but they're not currently in office, or they're not currently running for office, but they're influential. You could get people like that to do it as well.
And I'm hearing that Jeff has a lot of contacts already. He's already
Right.
has a foot in the door with, be kind of what do you think about this with you're still, looks like he's having, you there, Jeff? Or looks like he
Looks like he's
froze.
frozen.
He's not fully reconnected, is he?
No, just keeping.
At least he didn't freeze. You know, sometimes people freeze when they're like in a yawn or something.
This is when we get to volunteer him for stuff when he's not here.
Right.
He has more than a foot in the door. I mean, he's been hammering at this for a decade. And because of he used to do a really high level mediation, environmental mediation work. He mediated some pretty high level things in not just in Maine. And so through that, he ended up getting connected with a lot of the folks in politics and just kind of found his way to doing what he's interested in doing now. I did post the link to his website and also the book that he wrote, which is a lot about creating congressional leadership programs. So he saw that he was back but frozen. So I don't know, maybe he'll try again.
Has anyone done something like this? I mean, reached out to your Congress, your representatives, or?
It's tricky to do that. I mean, I wrote a letter to Marie Cantwell and can't remember who else is for Washington. I just moved back to Washington from being gone for a while, but you never know if they're going to get it.
Well, that's one of the way I'm seeing it, if the first one I feel pretty confident about because, you know, I've talked to him several times. He keeps saying he's going to do it. We have the, you know, sort of the infrastructure, everything's set. It's like once we get the first one, I just feel that we have that recorded and then whoever's on the team can reach out to whoever you have contacts with for the second one or the third one to kind of scale up. So if you have a contact with Dennis Kucinich or you feel inspired, yeah, this is somebody who I really want to reach out to. It's this reaching out that's in the follow, you know, the follow up and it's really quite the time consuming part to kind of get the snowball rolling. Both Dean and Ann are part of Extinction Rebellion, which is a group that we've worked with. Is he trying to get in? No. Oh, there you are. Hey, Jeff. You can always turn your video off in case the audio is, you'll have more stability. Is it working?
Are you talking to me, Edwin?
Yeah, Jeff, I was just checking, wanted to be sure your connection. So
thanks. Sorry about that.
We're just talking about how to get the politicians, you know, the representatives involved, and just noting that you've already connected with a lot. Was wondering what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I could talk for hours on this, but I won't do that now. but Edwin, maybe you and I could have a conversation. I'm going to say this is incredibly commendable, and in some ways, I say that partly because I think when I started working in DC, I had no idea what I was up against. And I'd already been working with federal agencies. And long story short, after many years of resolving conflict at the federal agency level, I really thought, all right, how do we bring this into Congress and the legislature? So Capitol Hill, what I've learned in the last few years is that Capitol Hill is a culture unlike any place else on earth. It is not like any other institution in existence anywhere. And so one has to be really careful about the words that you use on Capitol Hill. So if I were going to say one thing, I would say that the quickest path to working with empathy on the Hill, I feel like I'm going to be the turd in the punch bowl, but is don't ever use the word empathy. Notwithstanding what Joe Biden has said, I mean, it amazes me that he's actually using words like that. But you know, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm working on an initiative. You know, so I want to bring this kind of stuff in. I'm working on an initiative that is very much like empathy circles, but we're actually doing it through the lens of military culture and character, and the ideas of the values that the military brings around self-sacrifice and honor and the like. And so that's, you know, in short, boy, there's a lot of big egos on Capitol Hill. I mean, and people there also are incredibly human, and they're terrified. They believe in what they're doing, and they are so terrified of being sabotaged. I had a colleague who said to me, I don't know if you can, I can't see my, oh, I have my video off. Cell phones have now been weaponized. It's not just being caught, but it's actually a constituent who will walk up to you if you're a member of Congress on the street and say, oh, Congressman so-and-so, I want to get a selfie with you. The congressperson says, oh, that would be great. And the constituent puts up their phone and turns on the video and turns to the congressperson and says, so why did you vote against this bill? And how come you're for killing babies? And so it makes Congress people terrified of like going outside of their houses anymore. So they are in such a risk-averse environment. And so, you know, I don't know, again, I'm being very just sort of candid because I no longer have any filters in life, that I would think about, don't be deceived by the few members of Congress who might actually open to the word empathy. It's thinking about the other 530 or so who need a really different word for that. So,
Okay,
and
so
there
there
is
concerns about the word empathy, that a lot of politicians may not feel comfortable with that. Maybe
Yeah.
framing it in different terms, you feel.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, Evan. And I don't know, do you have other thoughts on words?
Yeah, I'm pretty stuck on the word empathy, because I guess I see it more like educating people around the word instead of sort of finding the words that maybe resonate. Take the word and then educate the politicians around what it means, because from my experience, when people understand how an empathy circle works, it just basically means being willing to listen to the other person, giving them a chance to speak and be heard to their satisfaction, that it kind of bridges the divides, and that it's kind of like instead of walking away from the term, I think it's the most accurate term to describe what it is that we're doing. And so to kind of educate around that. And I was thinking, I have a 2-minute trailer for the Trump phobia video. Do you want to just take a look at that? That might help with framing this. So let me just bring that up here. Oh, sharing, screen share, host. Oh, somehow I gave hosting to someone else. Oh, you have the hosting. Oh, can you give that back? I don't know how that happened. I just think I made you co-host. So at least make me host again.
How do I do that then?
Oh, you just go under participants, under more.
Oh, that's an individual person here.
Yeah.
Right, there we go.
Yeah, make host.
There you go. You got it back.
Okay. Oops. You're a host now. Great. So this is the trailer to the documentary, which you can see, you can rent now. It just became available. I'll just share. Oops, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna share it with the sound. And so this is Trump phobia. Hopefully.
Running for president of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
A spike in hate crimes across the country since Election Day.
Chuck Redding says he was followed home by someone after dropping off a friend, and he believes that person was targeting him all because of the stickers on the back of his car.
He said, our new president says that we can kill all you now. Excuse me?
Trump is president, so you can kiss your visa goodbye, scumbag.
Donald Trump supporters have also been the victims.
There's a lot of hate on the opposition side coming from the liberals and the Democrats. I personally have been assaulted.
You don't like Trump? Whoa! Okay, I got it.
We're seeing these people step out into the public and spew their hateful rhetoric. Sometimes it's worse than rhetoric, sometimes it's physical violence.
There's always been this tradition of sort of animosity between the left and the right in the United States, but I think the one thing that's really different now is the media environment.
Many progressives just think that conservatives are stupid or mean or evil. They're not any more of any of those things than progressives are.
People are absolutely right to be cynical about the government that's been inflicted on everyday people. But the solution to that is not to descend into darkness and militarism and violence.
We need more empathy. This is getting serious. We need to solve this problem. I guess I have faith that if we make an effort, we can find connections, and from that connection, find solutions. But it's going to take a while. These are challenging times.
Yeah, I don't know. Did that share just the video or was it the whole screen? I don't.
The whole
The whole screen.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So anyway, I'll put the link in there if you want to kind of see the whole documentary. That was like we have in terms of the messaging that Jeff, I don't know if he looks like he dropped out again, is that we have the empathy tent, which people see from blocks away when we set it up. Let me see if I can actually, if you go to empathytent.com, bring that up. So that's
I think I have a picture of it from Berkeley during one of the alt-right Antifa conflicts.
Yeah, and there's a link there to the empathy tent. So it's sort of the messaging. We've really built it around empathy. And so I guess, addressing Jeff's concern is kind of want to stay with that message and educate people about the empathy and what it means. Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that just struck me, and it's just sort of the irony of these situations, is that here's somebody that shared something from his experience of actually being in Washington, D.C. and on the Hill, as he calls it. And then here you are, Edwin, with this passion to spread this empathy circles, and you have passion and know and hope that it will help to make a difference. And I didn't experience that you really took in what Jeff said, but more sort of wanted to persuade or show us how your particular perspective could work. And right there is like a live example of what we were trying to get away from. We're not really hearing each other, so that it just kind of hit me funny. And I can see both sides. I think that from Jeff's perspective, he's been in it and he knows what what he's talking about. And from your perspective, you've been doing it for 14 years and you see the power that it has and you're hoping for the best. But anyway.
Yeah, can I reflect that? Can I do an empathic reflection? So what I'm hearing is you're saying that Jeff was sort of sharing his perspective, and I was trying to share a different perspective, and you feel like he wasn't really hearing what he had to say, and that sort of was sort of a block in empathy, is kind of a, yeah.
I get, yeah, that sort of captures it. I mean, it was just, there was some irony there for me, was that you didn't really seem to take in what was shared before you went right to, well, let me show you how this could be so good. And that's just what we're trying to get away from. I mean, that's what we're trying to help both sides do differently.
Right. Yeah. So if I reflect that back, you feel like I didn't take in what he was saying, and I kind of went right into, kind of with my response. And that was sort of like so ironic, because what we're really trying to do is get parties to listen to each other and take in what the others have said. So, yeah.
Thank you, Edwin.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, and I'll just respond, is I did want to do an empathy circle tomorrow on this topic, so that we would actually use the empathy circle. Right now, it was just sort of a meet and greet. So I would really love to do an empathy circle on this topic, and maybe we could even do that. Actually, right now would be a good way to sort of start, so that we start with incorporating the active listening. And maybe I'll speak to, I'll sort of model it. Maybe Anne, before you speak, would you be willing to reflect back what you heard me say? You're muted.
What you've just already said.
Just now, yeah.
Okay, so what I heard, I wasn't expecting to do that, but what I heard you saying was that actually you were hoping to do or planning to do an empathy circle on this topic tomorrow. And so what you're thinking is that maybe we could actually do that now in this circle, in this gathering here, and kind of practice doing that.
Yeah, so that as we build this team, we're actually starting from the ground floor using empathic listening, mutual listening, to sort of address what Kat's concern was, which I thought was really, really good.
Yeah, so you'd be building from the ground by doing this. If we are a team, that we could start ourselves with this process right now and build up using this empathic listening. So we really listen to each other.
Yeah, and I see, Jeff, you wanted to say something really quick.
Yeah, sorry, my internet keeps going in and out here. I just caught the tail end there, Kat, of what you were saying. And thank you, both you and Edwin, for the bit that I heard there and modeling that listening. I would love to help how I can. I'm going to have to bow out now, and simply because now that we know that Biden is going to be the president, my world has exploded in terms of what I'm focusing on. I will share with you that one of my initiatives is, well, I have a lot going on, but is actually a fairly serious initiative to create a U.S. Department of Hope, Healing, and Renewal. And this empathy piece could be a big part of that. So I really want to engage. And I hate saying this, I have to be super disciplined these days with my time. So I love what you're doing here. Would like to be able to help find our ways to collaborate. And for now, I'm going to just sign off and say thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks for that. So I do hear you're really pressed for time. Things are exploding in terms of what you have to do, and we'll check in to talk about any sort of collaboration, but you need to really watch your time.
Yeah.
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 Great.
Thanks. Yeah. You nailed it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Let's go forward. Yay.
Okay. Anne, you were up. You had something. Do you want to? Shall we try just a little bit of the active listening, mutual? If you want to select someone to speak to, and they'll reflect back, and so we can sort of model.
Yeah. Ellie, would you be Is it Eli or Ella?
It's
Ellie?
Eli.
Eli, apologies, I got it wrong. Yeah, I'd like to talk about what I was thinking about, and I'm thinking about this element that you were actually addressing about recording, and I think it's too fast. I think like that's kind of like Kat's identified. It's doing it in a kind of political way, and I completely understand where. I think I completely understand where Edwin's coming from. He wants to have like to harvest this video, and it's then there, it exists, and other politicians can see it and learn. And I'll pause because I've said a lot.
Well, you're just saying that you think that the idea of recording might be moving too quickly and might come across as political, but you understand why Edwin is, excited and enthusiastic about having a product that he can put out there, and I think you used the word harvesting that.
Yeah, and all for an absolutely good reason. But actually, I think that we need to get people on board. So, and it doesn't take long to get people to convert it to empathy process, but they do need to experience it and participate in it first. And I think it's important to give them the opportunity to do that learning by first-hand experience without having cameras on them or any of that. And also, I'll pause. I've got something else I want to say, but.
Well, I'm hearing you say that you think people need to get involved and experience empathy circles first before the cameras and all the attention is on them, and that it's important to just give them that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that there's a step too, that for some people, actually staying silent and listening to someone else is really challenging to start with. And I suspect that politicians fit way into that camp. If you have a spectrum of people able to listen and able to talk, I think we know that politicians will probably not be at the listening end, they'll be at the talking, wanting to say what they want to say. And so they've probably got quite a lot of muscle, empathy muscle to develop, empathy circle muscle to develop. But being really heard, as well as them practicing listening, will fast reap its rewards. And then if you've got them on board, they're going to be more likely to be proponents of what you're trying to do than if you get some video footage of them doing it first off.
So I'm hearing that you're recognizing that being silent and listening is challenging for some people, and you think particularly so politicians, and that it'll take them a while to develop their empathy skills. But that once they do, they'll be proponents of this project, and it will be, we won't necessarily need to have recordings to show if we have word of mouth of people who have participated. Is that what you're saying? I wasn't sure I was following it completely.
But them actually really being on board and behind using empathy and listening will do developing empathy more, give it more leverage, because then also they'll probably be willing to be videoed doing it and be able to participate more openly and authentically.
Okay, so you're thinking that if they practice empathy, they'll be more on board with the whole idea of empathy, and then they would be willing to get recorded and participate more, and it would spread.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Ah. So Dean, would you like to listen?
Certainly, Elaine.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'm going to follow on with what Anne was saying. I've always believed that you need to meet people where they are. And although I've never used it for any commercial purposes, I have a degree in marketing. And I come at things from sort of a marketing point of view sometimes. And I agree with Jeff that the word empathy isn't going to resonate with the very people who most need it. And we need to meet them where they are with a word they can, or words that they can relate to get them into it. And I'll pause for a moment here.
So I'm hearing you resonate with what Anne's been saying about meeting people where they actually are. And you actually admitting that you actually have expertise in the sales. So you haven't financed that, but actually you may be able to put those skill sets to use in actually getting them, that's the political classes, to find some way of accepting the process that's palatable to them.
Yeah, I think that there's a way to brand this project, if you will, and perhaps differently for Democrats than for Republicans, because they do speak different languages, and then have empathy as sort of the subtitle. So it'd be like, you know, conversations about our country using empathy circles. And so they're attracted to the big title and comfortable with the big title. And then they learn that, you know, that's empathy circles. And then they learn what Edwin wants them to learn, which is that it's the empathy that matters. It's not the title that you give it, but you have to use something to pull them in, perhaps.
So I'm almost hearing there a phrase like clickbait. You need to grab them where they are and get their attention, and then get them to practice the process in something they're comfortable in. And then they learn that this process is actually empathy, and it's the empathy circle process. And then this can be then used as a bridge to cross over from the left and the right hand side of the houses where you've instigated the process in different ways because of their different mindsets. So therefore they can then use this process to engage with each other in a way that they would never have done before.
You said that so much better than I did.
Sorry.
I think it's that really cute accent that he has, the process, you know. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah, that's basically it. Thank you.
So do you feel fully heard? Is
I
there anything
do.
else you'd like to say? Okay.
Not at the moment.
No, I have to agree. We are doing this typical, oh, sorry, Kat, will you be my active listener? So I have to agree, as is the way with these circles, we're actually spiraling into consensus opinion because Anne set up a good point. Eli then expanded upon it. And I actually have to agree with what's just been said, that we need to attract them where they're comfortable. I pause.
So you feel quite in agreement with what's been said already. And you notice that often these kinds of things do this sort of cycling into consensus. And you see the point that was made as one that you can get on board with, that we have to meet people where they're at and then allow them to see what's there.
Yeah, a lot of people I've spoken to in my part of the world have freaked out by the term empathy. That's the hippie, dippy, something. But when you actually get them to sit down and actually experience what it's like to be reflected and actually be heard, they then go, oh, I quite like that.
So you're noticing that where you come from, empathy has an immediate pullback, and yet when you get people to sit down face to face, heart to heart, they quite like the experience of being heard.
So what we have to do is find some way of sneaking in the Empathy Cafe title as a subtitle to get these two parties that are diametrically opposed and used to having a combative language with each other to then actually learn the process individually and then come together as a secondary product, which is our primary goal.
So you're seeing that the goal of bringing sides together to close the division, to reach across the division, is a goal that you would like to get behind, and you are hoping that we can find ways that invite people in so that we can see each other's humanity.
Yeah, thank you. I feel heard.
Thank you.
So if you want to select someone, we're just using the empathy circle process to, or, I don't know, Pat, are you still there?
Looks like Pat's gone. Oh, no, there she is.
Oh.
You're muted, Pat.
Sorry about that. Yes. So I'm going to reflect.
Kat,
Oh my God.
Oh, Kat, are you there?
I'm here.
So do you want to speak
Oh,
to
Pat,
Pat
okay,
and she'll
Pat.
reflect? Just to use the
Great.
practice that we're going to
I
be
thought
doing.
Pat was speaking. I sort of.
No, you're
I'm in a circle.
the person that listened becomes the speaker, just like
Got it.
restorative
So,
circles.
hi, Pat.
Yeah.
What I would like to have any work like this focus on is the positive attributes, the positive aspects of what we're going after. So I really like to think about it as seeing the humanity in each other, which is a phrase that I just used. Even more so than reaching across the divide, because that already sets it up as there's a problem here. And coming from a 30+ year background in playback theater where we listen to people's stories, I have witnessed profound shifts in people. I'll let you.
Yeah, so what you were saying was that you really like this idea of positivity and the shared humanity, as opposed to saying crossing the divide, which okay. And then you use your example of your 30 years in the playback theater process and how you saw like, whoa, big transformations happen.
Yeah, and that was never framed as empathy, and yet individuals felt so deeply heard, and individuals watching someone else's story were able to open to a human being that they would normally dismiss. Because once we've really deeply hurt each other, there's almost no way we can't love each other. It's almost impossible.
Okay, so I'm seeing this big smile on your face because of this transformative thing. So what you said is going beyond, like, it doesn't matter what you call it, but that you witnessed people sharing their stories, and like people that normally wouldn't necessarily be able to see each other's world or humanity. You saw this like amazing experience where how could you but help love each other?
Thank you.
Yeah. Touching, beautiful. So am I supposed to talk now?
Yeah, if you want to select someone to speak to and they'll reflect.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Is that other woman here or did she go bye-bye?
She left, Diane.
no,
she
I'm
had
here.
to go.
Oh, okay. Hey, Edwin.
Yeah, I'll listen.
It's your turn.
Alrighty, I'm listening.
Oh, gosh. So we're talking about this process. All right. Well, I'm just resonating with what everybody has said, which is really kind of beyond labels. It's not about the word, because that gets kind of, everybody has different images of what that is. But to the heart of the matter, which is this experience of reflective listening and what can happen through seeing and feeling people's humanity.
Yeah, so you're really seeing it's about the experience of active listening, of hearing each other, and kind of getting beyond, you know, what's the word we're going to use for that.
Yeah, and even in the process of it, the whole process is kind of going a little deeper, relaxing a little bit more, going a little bit deeper, until something happens beyond you and me.
Yeah, and even seeing, I'm not sure if you're meaning like you even see it, experience it here, that as we listen to each other, we're sort of sinking deeper into it until we kind of get to some place that's beyond, you know, me and you, or something else sort of emerging.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You feel heard? Okay, then I'll speak to Kat. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing your the irony of it. You know, I think it's good to, so one of the plans for moving forward was to start doing empathy circles on this topic, you know, just putting it in so that we sort of use the practice that we're going to try to get the politicians to join. So I think this is a good first step.
So you're appreciating that I spoke to the irony that I saw, and it gave us an opportunity to move right into putting into practice what we're hoping to be able to share with congressional leaders.
And sort of the next step also that I was seeing is we have a training that we're doing, an empathy circle facilitator training. So for the team, it would be good to have the team that's working on this all be familiar, being able to use the empathy circle practice, and also have done the training to train people in how to facilitate. And then we're now developing the trainers so we can kind of scale up to sort of spread the practice. Yeah.
And so you're hoping that the team of people that want to come together to do this will be willing to train as facilitators for Empathy Circle. And then you're seeing this really grow. There's going to be a train the trainer as well. And you're just excited about the possibility of it just exploding.
Yeah, and being sort of like a snowball. So, and the idea is that we get the politicians, you know, to model it. And if they're, as I mentioned about the, you know, when we had the right and left, the leaders take part. A lot of people watch it. And if they watch it, then we have a link, like how for them to get involved in their own communities. So it's just spreading the empathy circle, the empathic listening, or whatever you want to call it, active listening, that just to spread the practice and really bring it into sort of a national consciousness and awareness, you know, and get Oprah to do it on her show, right? Really just spread this one simple practice. If we can just spread this, we've done a big contribution, I think.
Yeah.
So you just have an enormous amount of heart and passion and enthusiasm for wanting to just be Johnny Appleseed, Edwin Appleseed, and spread
empathy seed
everywhere. And you can even imagine Oprah rocking it with empathy.
Yeah, which would kind of help spread it, because it's like if we can get into the politicians at the national level, you know, it seems like we could shift, and it could be kind of a thing with this, you know, with the whole culture. And it's really what's needed to, you know, to bridge these divides and see our common humanity. Yeah.
So you're just seeing this as a great bridge across the divides to be able to see our common humanity.
Yeah, and grateful for everyone being here, and I feel heard with that. Yep.
And you're grateful.
Edwin, you're silent.
Oh,
you're muted.
I wanted to check with time how much time people had. I could go another 20 minutes or so. Is that, or does that work for everyone? No?
I'm actually going to have to slide off.
Okay.
But thank you so much.
So this might be a good time to then close. We kind of got started here, and tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is going to be a little late for the UK, I was going to have another one of these calls and see about starting to schedule, put more on the schedule and have some, during December, beginning of January, then we'll hold the circle with the congressional representatives, and then try to sort of scale up to whoever's on the team, kind of reach out to your representatives or, people that you think might be interested in. That's kind of what I was imagining. But so tomorrow, I don't know if anyone else can make it tomorrow, or
is that 2 p.m. did you say?
2
or 3
p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Pacific. So it's going to be quite late for you.
So what's it your time now?
It'll be 10 p.m.
Yeah,
UK.
it would be starting, in 20 minutes. So, and you can also leave your name and contact info, in that Google Doc, so we can kind of get an email list going. So let me maybe just do a temperature check. Who wants to continue, interested in, putting time into this project? Okay, great, Pat, Dean, and
I'm very much in support of it, and I don't know whether I have the time to put the time into it because of the other things that I'm involved with that are sort of same, but different. And I've been curious about your work for years because you've been hanging in there for over a decade. So I just really want to celebrate what you're doing, Edwin.
Okay, great.
And, maybe I can circle back around and be a support somehow.
All righty. Good. Well, thanks for checking in.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. So we could bring it to an end. Yeah, we'll have a call tomorrow. Keep watching the Facebook page. Leave your email address, and we'll just start an email list maybe to kind of follow up. And the call tomorrow, we'll see if other people join, and then also do an empathy circle. Maybe we can shift the time, going forward to be something that's a little earlier that would work for the UK, like 12 p.m. Pacific or something, which would be 2 hours ago. Yeah. Okay. Pat, you were saying something about you were muted. Was there?
No, I just lost this because I went to the Google Doc. So and I've been writing things in the chat, so I'll just put that in the chat too.
Okay, you can put it in the Google Doc too if you want to put any notes in there. I've been taking some
All right,
notes.
I can try to do that, but I'm not that good at Google Docs.
Okay, when
Thank you. And yeah, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but yeah, if I'm free, I'll like to pop in and see what's going on for the next
cool.
thing. So thanks for holding the vision, everybody.
Okay, well, thanks for your attendance, for taking part and your interest.
Okay.
Okay, bye for now.